So this is the shift cam assembly, and I'm going to rebuild it, which involves replacing all of the parts you see here. Many of the springs are prone to wear, and some of them can break, and this roller often is a high wear item. That's this guy over here. A BMW originally used plastic. This is an upgraded roller, which is really a bearing, which works much nicer. Comes out of the K-series transmission. And then a set of snap rings and clips that hold everything together get refreshed. The roller falls into detents on this cam for each gear, and it rotates like this. And when you get over to here, that's 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and then this shallow detent, that's neutral, and then this is 1st. So what I like to do is move it so it's in 1st, and then put some paint marks on the gear teeth on this and this cam plate. So when I put it back together, it'll be in 1st gear, and those teeth will line right up. I'm going to start by removing this cam plate, and I just used my snap ring pliers to get the retaining ring off the shaft. Now I can just pull this right up and off. To remove the other cam plate, I pulled off the other retaining clip. Now to get this plate off, you have to open up the spring here, and also on the shift paw spring to get it to slide up, and then it will come on up off the shaft like that. And back here is where the shift paw engages to index this shift cam around as you shift the gears. Now the arm with the roller has a spring. One end of it fits in this hole in the plate, and then there's a little hook on this end that fits on the edge of the arm. And the shift pawl has a spring. Now one end of that spring is right here up in the slot, and then the other end is back down here up against this the arm here of this piece. And then there's a third very big spring, which is the return spring on the shift lever. So as you shift, you push the pawl one direction for a upshift, and then you push the pawl the opposite direction for a downshift, and that big spring is what brings everything back to center. So that's also a spring I'm going to replace. To remove the shift pawl, there's a clip back here on the shaft that holds it on, so I just need to get a little screwdriver blade in there and pop him off, and then I should be able to just get this to come up and out of there. Yep, there it comes. And that's the spring, and that's the shift pawl. Now to remove the shift return spring plate, it attaches back here on this pin with another snap ring. So I pop that off, and then I should just be able to slide the plate off, and then the spring pops off. So that's pretty easy to remove as well. Now when you look at the back of the return spring plate, you'll see where it's been rubbed, and what was rubbing on it is the shift pawl return spring. Now the fact it rubs on that plate is one reason why this spring fails, and so it's a good idea to replace it when you do a transmission rebuild. Now to remove the shift cam roller assembly, there's a clip that fits on the back there that I removed. And then I should be able to just push that through and slide him off. Okay, there's the shaft, and there's a washer that fits in there like that. And then the spring pops out like that. So this is the whole set of parts then for the shift cam roller assembly. This is the disassembled parts from the shift cam assembly, and I kept them grouped together so it'll be a little bit easier to put everything back together and also to match up the used with the new parts that I bought. Now, to replace the roller, I just removed this little ring here, and then the roller will come right off. Now there are two other pretty big circlips that hold the shafts to the plate, and they came in the rebuild kit, so I'm going to replace those too. Now before I start putting this all back together, I replaced all of the used parts with the new parts in the kit, so I won't, by mistake, reuse an old part. Now I put the new ball bearing roller on with the new snap ring onto the arm here. Now I'm going to reinstall the shift roller arm. We'll put the washer on like that, and then the spring, this end fits in the hole, so it's going to go in like that, and then the assembly is going to come down and catch like this on the spring. So the arm's on this side, and then it pops through the back, and I'll secure it with the snap ring. So to install the return spring plate, this is the big return spring, and it fits on this bushing, but it can be installed backwards, in which case it won't work. So let me see if I can show you what I mean. If you install the spring this way so that the legs are up against the plate, that's incorrect. You want to flip it over so the legs are much closer to the top of the pin. And to get pressure on them, you pick up one leg and slide it on one side, and the other leg goes on the other side. So that's a little bit of brute force. Okay, I've got it now. So that's what provides the spring pressure. And then the return plate slides in the hole, and the pin on the plate is going to end up in between the two legs of the spring. And you may have to push a little bit to get that to happen. Okay, I've got the little bushing in between the two legs of the spring, and it's pushed through, so I can install the circlip that holds it in place. So I have the shift return plate installed with the lock ring back here, and now I need to get the shift pawl and spring. Now the spring fits over this bushing, and one arm of it butts up against the edge here of the return plate, and then the other arm is going to go inside the slot here. And you can often get this in by sliding the paw pin in the hole most of the way, not quite all the way, and then take a screwdriver and push that arm further so it'll catch, and it generally pops out on you. It's a fun one. Let's try it again. There we go. Okay, there. Now the thing to be sure you check is that the spring is still on the bushing, and then back here is a little circlip that snaps in to hold it in place. Okay, I've got the little circlip in. Now the shift pawl return spring is working, and the shift lever return spring is working in both directions. So we've got that done, and we have the roller follower return spring there, so all the springs are installed. So now I'm ready to install the two shift cam plates. I'm going to start with this one and get the roller up and out of the way. And also I have to pull the shift paw out at the same time while I push it down. So you need about 3 hands to do this. Okay, that's that one. And there it goes. I got that. Okay. And then I rotate it to first gear like that. And those are my 2 paint marks. And then on this shift cam, that's my paint mark that will fit in between. And it just slides down like that. So the cam assembly is in first, and this cam assembly is in first. Then I just need to insert the 2 snap rings to hold them on the shaft. What I like to do when I'm done is test that I have all the snap rings and washers where they need to be. So I'll just put my screwdriver in and make sure I can rotate them and that there's a fair amount of resistance in every one of them. And that way I know that they're all seated properly in the groove and nobody's going to pop out or come loose. Okay, so I think we're good. Okay, got everything back together with the 2 snap rings or lock rings in here, and the assembly works, rotates through the gears, so should be good for another 100,000 miles.